companies that adopt new business and production models that reduce reliance on raw materials by continuously cycling materials back into their supply chains are likely to be better insulated against fluctuating commodity markets and other future shocks. A circular economy is a more resilient economy. Listen to this chat conducted by International Council for Circular Economy with Mr. Piotr Berzak, a senior policy officer for waste at the European Environmental Bureau.
Good evening, everyone. I am Susanna Lal, and on behalf of International Council for Circular Economy, I would like to welcome you all to Circular Chat, a talk series that takes place every Wednesday at 5 p.m. IST. ICC was incorporated in July 2020 and formally launched in August 2020 to function as the first international body in India working on the principles of circular economy. ICC operates in three strong pillars: educate, innovate, and inspire. Today, in another session of Circular Chat, we'll have a discussion with Piotr Barczak. Piotr started his professional career as a land surveyor for a private company providing technical analysis of urban and coastal areas. In 2010, he started working in the Polish Ministry of the Environment, where he joined the International Cooperation Unit. In 2011, he was sent to Brussels to reinforce the Environmental Policy Unit at the permanent representation of Poland to the EU. After a successful Polish presidency at the Council, he decided to leave the diplomatic service and join the NGO world, where he worked on shale gas and land grabbing in Africa. He's worked in several missions in the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan, collaborating with Caritas and the UN mission to South Sudan. Piotr came back to Brussels in 2013 to join the EU policy team of the European Environmental Bureau, working on air pollution and waste. He is now responsible for the waste policy at the EEB, representing the voice of around 150 national NGOs dealing with environmental protection. He chairs the EEB Waste Working Group, which consists of waste experts from member states with hands on experience in waste management and prevention measures. He collaborates closely with Zero Waste Europe, as well as with municipalities, progressive industry, and waste management organizations. Piotr, it's a pleasure to have you with us this evening.
Namaste. Thank you. Thank you. I'm honored to be here with you and happy.
All right. So, Piotr, as we know, EU governments and institutions have agreed on a comprehensive strategy to prevent household waste and boost recycling. So, in regards to that, what are the common barriers to implementing waste diversion programs?
Okay, go straight to questions. Thank you for the question. It's very important. Maybe I just wanted to tell who we are first, because that will set the background of how we, for the question also and for the answer. So we are. I thank you, Susanna, for the introduction of myself. But the most important is that the last 8 years of my work, which is at the European Environmental Bureau, which is a network, a largest network of NGOs working on environment in Europe and beyond. And we work very closely with local communities and local NGOs, but representing them in Brussels. Brussels, the capital of EU. So we have a direct impact on policies set at the EU level. And in the EU, all EU policies, directives or regulations are more important than national legislations. In fact, so the European directives have to be transposed into national legislations. So that's why we work very closely with our waste working group that I chair, with experts, so that those laws on circular economy, waste prevention are transposed to the capitals of the EU member states and implemented there. With NGOs, we also watchdog how they are implemented, because it's not only about copying and pasting, but it's really very much related to a community that we recognize that they are different. Of course, when we compare Europe with other regions, we seem, as Europe is a unique, united and quite homogeneous community, but it's not. So same as in India, you differ between regions. So the policies have to be very well thought through, so that they are flexible enough to be transposed and bring the fruits. Um, so yes. Also, just adding to the introduction. Also, the most important, one of the very important thing recently is that I became a mentor of International Council for Circular
I
Economy,
see.
which I'm
Yes.
very happy for, and I'm yeah, hopeful to that we can work together for Indian circular economy and in
Definitely.
the global world.
Yes. We
So
welcome you to the team,
thank you.
Piotr.
So yes, thank you for the question. So as I said, the background that we are working in Brussels to spread the information in the information and the advocacy in the capitals of the member states, but also beyond, because we also work at the UN level in different forums at OECD. And me and my colleagues, we have a team working on circular economy, covering different subjects, sectoral, such as textiles, construction, electronics, and batteries is very new topic, but also just about municipal waste, so household waste, as you said in your question,
Yeah.
about prevention and recycling of this. So you asked about barriers and barriers of implementing the waste diversion programs. Um, there are few, but some of them are very obvious, such as funding. There is
Yeah.
funding available,
Mm-hmm.
either public funding, which is taken from taxes, and of course here different countries have their autonomy in taxing. And I'm not even going into details of Indian because I don't know how the situation of taxing is there. But there are municipalities that they possess, they have money to finance improvements in waste. But there are also EU funds, and also there is a so-called EPR, Extended Producer
Yes.
Responsibility Funding, which is a fund collected by consuming the products of producers. So producers are chipping in the funding to shift to ensure that the end of life of their products and packaging is financed, because it should not be. This is the part that we consume in the products and packaging. This is according to polluters pays principle. It's the consumers together with producers that should be paying for the costs of managing the waste. And
Yeah.
this is often a barrier because in many countries in Europe, in many governments struggle to collect this money in a correct way. So in fact, there are huge differences, between Austria and Poland, for example. So a country, Austria, where there are more than 200 euros per ton of plastic collected, as opposed to few only euros, 5, 7 euros in Poland for the same ton of same plastic. So producers have a totally different, burden, financial burden here. So of course, it is when it's not enough. It's simply a barrier to do good things with waste, because yeah, as we know, recycling costs, separate collection costs, and even more if we want to make sure that waste are being repaired, which still costs even more, especially in Europe where labor costs are very expensive. This is not covered enough. So this is a huge barrier. Then there are barriers, of course, technical as well. Products are designed in such a way that they are difficult to dismantle, to detach different materials. They are often blended, and that's difficult. There is also lack of information to downstream users. So producers don't give enough information about what the product or the packaging is made of. And if you don't know what is it made of, then of course it's difficult to recycle, because yeah, you
That's
don't
true.
know the technology. So these are the, I would say, main three. Of course, more other people will also mention such barriers as consumer awareness. I know it is a barrier, but I wouldn't focus on it at the first place, because if we cover well financing, design, and technical, well, this is also issues, then behavior will also follow, because behavior can be steered. Okay, it's maybe weird to hear that, but of course, education is important. But also we cannot count that all the society, 100% of society of users, consumers will be educated in a way that they will know what to do exactly with the waste. Or even more, we cannot expect from everybody, especially those that don't have enough purchase power, that they will invest, or they will only buy the most ecological, green, sustainable products. We cannot just require that from people. So what we have to do is is the governments, and it's about education of governments at all levels, EU, national, and local, that they put in place financing tools and laws requiring producers to follow, basically to make sustainable products a norm rather than only put it on the responsibility of consumers that they have to choose well. In fact, it's a long process, but in few years, if we follow those steps that we can also talk about later in detail, we want to create in Europe a sustainable market of only sustainable products, where there will be only sustainability rules in place, and there will be executed. So the control is also very important. And same with imported goods. So it's not only about making our producers following the rules, but it's also about ensuring that producers outside Europe follow European rules if they want to place on the European market. And that's a huge incentive for non-European producers and markets. I spoke a lot about this question, but I
No, no,
hope.
no. No, Piotr, thank you for pointing out those barriers for us. Now, Piotr, we also know that beyond European environmental policies, the EEB also engages in regional and international fora where solutions for environmental problems are developed. So, what are the key determinants of the implementation of sustainable pro ecological development according to the concept of green economy?
Mm, yeah, that's a great question. At the EB, we have a team working specifically on global policy assessments and sustainability, which is very much
Right.
intertwined with ours. But I cannot speak on their behalf what they do on at UN level. I know that there are talks about having a convention, international convention for plastics. So very similar to what we have now for Basel Convention or Stockholm Convention on toxics. There could be one more on plastics, but I cannot say the details. I don't know so much. But maybe just generally, it is very important that at the EB we look at international policies, and we also share the European knowledge or European lessons learned and mistakes with other partners, because we are not isolated. Europe is not any country. There is no country, maybe except North Korea, that is isolated. We have to look at the whole value chains and trade. And this has huge impact also on circular economy, whether it will fly or not. So by some ingredients and requirements in the trade agreements, we can also stimulate more sustainable goods and green economy and circular economy. So it's very important that it's not only that Europe or India will go circular economy alone. It's really the whole also supply chain, because same as Europe, same as India, we don't possess all of the resources we can work with or we need, but we can significantly also more make our economies more independent by, of course, making recycling much efficient, and also reducing the demand for both primary and secondary materials. There are sometimes misconceptions that that if some materials are well recyclable, PET, let's say, or aluminium, then we can use a lot of them. No, we also have to look at just reduction of our consumption, sufficiency, and that is a whole that is a global move that maybe it's now necessary for us in Europe and the US, to look at, because we do consume too much, and I agree, and I mean we work daily on to cut that down. And other countries in the global south, they don't. Or in India also, you have much less consumption, let's say, consumption than us, and that's good. We should learn from you also how to how to fulfill our work, jobs, and life with less. But there are patterns in the global world, also in the global south, that makes very fast increase of consumption of resources, and that has to be addressed already now. And I think that's a good cooperation that we can all do to learn from each other, and to but not only learn. It's not only about exchanging ideas, but it's really about exchanging the policies, exchanging lessons learned, which measures, economic measures work and which not. of course adaptable to the situation, because we cannot compare also different mentalities on different cultural issues.
Right. So countries must learn from each other and their mistakes that they make. That's right,
Hmm.
awesome. So I was reading more about your organization and I read that as a part of a European campaign for the right to repair, your organization also demands easy access to repair information, spare parts, and repair tools. So can you tell us some of the groundbreaking laws that you have been implemented and enforced that assist the manufacturers to make certain products easily repairable and duration?
Yes, thank you, Susanna, for this question. So this is the whole eco design directive work.
Yeah.
We've been calling for that for years now, but only 2 years ago it started to be really put into paper. And actually, we have already laws, and this year they will have to be implemented, that require certain groups of products. And those groups of products will be then extended. But these products for today are now dishwashers, washing machines, screens, lamps, and fridges. Yeah, maybe I forgot, but then more. But there will be extended to laptops, I hope, and smartphones, and also other products. So these are, it's a sectoral approach per product, because it's also true that products different from each other. So the requirements have to be designed in policies towards products, and not like for all. Even for some issues, there should be designed for all, like the reduction of toxic substances. But regarding especially your question about right to repair, which is our campaign that really pushed a lot for these eco design rules to happen, is that yes, it's great that we already have those rules which require access to spare parts for next 7 years or 14 years, depend on the group. Demand access to manuals on how to repair products. And different things. Yeah, also extended of warranties, and also that products have to be able to be dismantled using normal tools, usual tools. So
Yeah.
the tools that we all of us have at home, and not some specific tools. And also that they have to be dismantled without destroying them.
Wow.
This is also one of the rules. And but the one thing that we asked, as you were asking your question, is that they are publicly available, the manuals, so the information and spare parts. Because today, in the law, it was unfortunately kind of negotiated with producers that this access to certain parts, such as motors, for example, motor of a machine, can be accessed only by registered repair man. So
Okay.
by the accredited and not by everybody. And we argue that right to repair is a right to of an owner of a product, because if I own things, it's my thing. I should have a right to repair it myself. I don't need to bring it anywhere. So if for me to be able to repair it myself, I need the manual, a script on how to repair it. I need to know or I need to also open it, dismantle it, and exchange the spare part I need. And this is what we are lacking, but we are fighting to bring that forward. Same for mobile phones. So it's not that
Yes.
only accredited companies can do this. We know that there are different citizens movements, such as iFixit, which is providing manuals even against the willingness of Apple, let's say, but and also other companies. And they are delivering that, they are providing those manuals, which is good, which is something that every citizen and person that is concerned about their laptop and iPhone and whatever is there, that we want to repair it ourselves. And how many, I am sure many of our listeners can say that they had a laptop or a phone or something else, or a mixer or a toaster, that they couldn't repair because it was designed in such a way that it's not repairable. Today's economic system, it makes it interesting for producers to just kind of hinder repair in
Yeah.
order to make the consumer come back to the shop and buy again.
Right,
So
right.
that's the problem is in the economic system as well.
Yeah, so that's some great work Eve is doing for you. Uh, Talking about the pandemic that has been, the
Hmm.
emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. We know that it has created both negative and positive changes, including implementing the circular economy across the globe. According to you, since the past year, what has been the impact of the COVID pandemic on plastic packaging, sustainable consumption, waste reduction, and the zero waste movement?
Thank you. This is a very timely question. I will start by saying that this is a tragedy that is happening, and I'm really sorry for all people who lost their life and families who lost their families. And I know, especially now in India, that the situation is bad. So I just hope that everybody listening to us is keeping up, and I wish you to keep up a few more months, and we'll be all out of this, and we can shake hands and hug
Definitely.
again.
Yeah.
So so yes, there are impacts, only bad impacts that are the most important. I don't want to focus on any silver bulleting here. No, not silver bullet, silver lining here,
Right.
because
Yes.
it's, even if there are some positives, I don't want to talk about them. However, we can say that yes, there was an impact on plastic production, and you also said waste reduction,
Zero
consumption, and
waste.
zero waste movement.
Yeah.
So as we have been locked down, actually there were few reports on that in Europe, especially looking at the impact of COVID pandemic on waste management. And as I recall, some main findings is that since we were locked down at homes, we were more respectful to what we have at home. We were also more conscious on how to separate waste. So separate collection actually boosted. People had more time, apparently, to diligently separate paper from there, and they were also reusing as much as they can. They were eating all the food they had, because so the food losses, food wastage also dropped. Yeah, because we were at home, so we were actually looking more often into the fridge and trying to make food of what we have, meals of what we have. However, packaging has grown. Packaging, not only because of shopping, but especially because of online shopping. So here is not so much plastic, but more carton and cardboard, paper and cardboard, that has increased. But in the meantime, I have seen few companies, startup companies, popping up to suggest reusable solutions for online sales. And that is something very interesting, not only business to consumer, but also business to business, better reusable packaging. So, and there are a few companies like that in Europe already starting up. So I'm sure this will take up. So on zero waste, also because we are at home, we are more conscious of how much waste we have and how quick our waste bins are filling up. So it makes us think more about how we consume and trying to make a decision when shopping already on how this will all turn out in terms of the bin. So I see, and we saw that in reports, that people are conscious and they don't want to go out so often and throw their waste. They want to stay at home. So they also reduce that. And there was one thing I just and consumption also dropped, of course. Of course, yes, online shopping has increased, but still overall the consumption has dropped. We are better, still happy with our stuff we have. The textiles, the clothing we have. Cars consumption, new purchase of cars have also dropped, except electric cars, but that is another story. And also cycling has boosted. I don't know in India, but cycling has boosted a lot. That's partly because of reduction in public transport usage, but it's also keeping distance on a bicycle is of course possible, and walking. So this has improved as well. So these are the good things that I hope we will keep after the pandemic, and I think we will keep, especially many cities in Europe, but also elsewhere, in the US, possibly in India too, have created so-called emergency cycling lanes, and they're going there they are to stay. Those cycling lanes are there to stay. So the city has to just embrace what they did and continue, and yeah, and learn lessons out of that.
Yeah, so we hope that this continues even after the pandemic ends, and which we
Mhm.
hope the pandemic ends soon. Yes.
Of course,
So,
yes.
yeah, so thank you so much, Piotr, for highlighting the importance of implementing sustainable and ecological development projects by the government and the significance of it being accepted positively by the citizens too.